Yeah, I thought we could have a theme song too. Pastor Chat, Pastor Chat. Everyone wants to chat with their pastor. Welcome to Pastor Chat, folks. No,
Yeah.
We're not really practicing
all right.
social distancing.
If by any chance this actually ends up live, or not live, ends up on our web pages or our Facebook pages or our YouTube pages, welcome. We have here some of the distinguished pastors from the Aiken Lakes area, I guess. I'm Pastor James Muskie from here at Bethesda in Malmo. On my left is
I'm Mike Briggs from Salem and Deerwood.
Pastor Jordan from First and Aiken.
Pastor Becca from Bethlehem and Aiken.
excellent. So we do not pretend to be experts at this. This is our very first joint conversation. But with everything going on, we wanted to kind of join forces a little bit, but also just have some of these additional resources for you guys as you're at home, and as a lot of our church services in person are canceled until sometime down the road. And so we'll have a couple different topics, a couple different videos, hopefully each week, but it will definitely be a work in progress. So we're going to start off with a little Bible study for the upcoming Sunday. And so our readings for this week are
Ezekiel 37, 1 through 14, and Psalm 130, Romans 8, 6 through 11, and then the big one, John 11, 1 through 45.
So we will probably not read all of that right now. I will probably post it on the screen. You might be seeing it right now, perhaps. Otherwise, maybe I'll kick off the video with that. But we'll kind of keep this informal for now. And I know Mike was busy doing all the Hebrew translation and Greek translation.
Hey, that works.
But we'll
Good job,
touch on some of the important points that we see and that may connect to what's going on right now. And I don't know. I'll stop talking for the time being.
I know what I'm noticing right away is it's two pretty prominent stories. You get like the Valley of Dry Bones from Ezekiel, which is
Right.
very, very well known amongst Christians, I guess. It'd be a very like, oh, I can remember that kind of. And there's a prophesy to those dry bones, like the common
Yes.
language. That,
Them bones and
the bones.
bones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sing it.
Yeah, it makes you think of that song for
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what? The raising of Lazarus, the resurrection
Yes.
of Lazarus in John. So it's like these two very prominent stories that we get to try to link together and see how God is at work. I don't think you guys want to start with one of them or not. But,
Well, I think both of them too, and maybe even some with the others as well, is that, especially as we think of this time where we're so concerned about our health and other kind of struggles, they both kind of speak to both healing, but also something that seems dead and dying, and yet there's still life, I guess.
Right. Right.
Hope.
Hope,
Like-
yeah.
Yeah, like in the bones from the Ezekiel reading when Ezekiel prophesied to them, and then God sent his breath, the four winds, and they rose up as a vast multitude. Which is similar to Lazarus when Jesus called him out of the tomb and he came out, still wrapped in his burial cloths, stinking.
Good visual images here, yeah, on all of them.
Dry bones don't stink.
No, they don't.
Right.
Dead bodies do.
Yeah.
I mean, very
Yes,
important.
they do.
And God seems to start acting kind of at the end of hope, where there actually is no hope. I mean, these are dead, dry bones. There's nothing left.
Exactly.
They're stinky
Lazarus has
dead
been
people.
dead for 4 days. There's just no
Right.
hope anymore.
And
That's where God-
and the ancient Jews believed that after 3 days, the soul was gone. So the fourth day, it's impossible. Which is why they would sit at the grave, because if for some reason the individual really wasn't dead, within 3 days, he'd be screaming and hollering,
Right.
"Let me out of here!"
Kind of like, have you ever seen that where they used to put like bells,
Yes.
like on a chain?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you buried someone just because, gosh, you'd hate to have to like find out after the fact that they were. And two, you also get this image of, back from creation, like recreation, right? The God breathing the breath of life into someone, certainly with the Ezekiel passage. But
It's actually the same verb in Hebrew
look at
from
you.
Ezekiel and
Oh.
Genesis. It's the same,
Rock and
same breath of God, same breathing. It's used. So that's cool.
Ruach, that good. One of the few Hebrew words that people remember from seminary, just because it sounds like it's in Klingon or something.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Ezekiel is taking place. He's prophesying as the Jews are in exile, and they feel separated from God, and so they're very much these dry bones that God can do nothing about, or that they think God can do nothing about, and so Ezekiel is saying to them, "Well, you are not separated from God. I mean, you may think you are. You may think you're these dried up bones, but God's coming as a rushing wind and making new, and you're never out of the reach of God." And that's really cool to start thinking about too. We're all alone in our houses,
Yes.
Yeah.
week after
Time
week.
of isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Gather them as a vast multitude. Yeah. Place you on your own soil. Yeah.
I wonder how they would have heard that. I mean, they're sitting there in exile in Babylon. They are no nation anymore.
Right.
Would you laugh at this guy?
I don't know.
I wouldn't be the first believer in that crowd. I don't
Yeah.
think.
I don't think I would either.
I feel like prophets are used to not always being believed for one reason or another. Yeah.
Preachers too.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You preach a word of hope when things seem hopeless. Yeah. Like we were saying. Or I love the language too. We haven't talked about it too much yet, but the psalm too, right? Here's another one of these.
Yes.
This deep.
Oh, yeah.
One of these psalms I think people will sometimes turn to in times of real distress. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord, hear my voice. But also, I love that line kind of in the second to last paragraph.
Yeah.
My soul waits for the Lord more than those who watch for the morning, more than those who watch for the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. You think of like all the times people that are just sitting waiting, for someone to come home, or the parents, leaving your light on when you're staying out too late, or they used to talk about, what is it? I think out east they would have, and I don't know how true these are, but like they used to have like a little room they would call the widow's perch or something.
Oh,
remember that?
Yes.
So like
yes.
the wives of captains could sit and watch,
Yeah.
and whether that was actually its purpose or not, I'm not sure, but. That's certainly part of the legend of people waiting for this hope to come
In the deep darkness.
in the deep darkness. Wait for the morning.
It applies now, especially with
sure does.
what's going on and how it affects people. And so many of us have so many older and highly vulnerable people in our congregations. That
Yeah,
They're looking for a light.
yeah,
Yeah.
or even I know too. We've been talking about just all the folks, in all kinds of different businesses that are being impacted of, restaurants and all the places where they kind of rely on the public to gather on a regular basis. And here, this is a tourism area in a lot of
Right.
ways too. And I know folks too are wondering, well, what's that going to do yet again to the tourism industry? And so, yeah, a lot of just sitting and nervously waiting at home,
Waiting till the dawn break.
tough.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, there was
Yeah.
this guy named Lazarus.
Yeah.
So why do you suppose Jesus
died.
waited? What was that about? I always, come on.
I'm never
just get your act
satisfied
together.
by his answer that the glory of God may be known or whatever
Yeah.
it says there. Never satisfied.
But don't you think it's partly because, like we talked about earlier, after 3 days, the guy's really, really dead.
okay.
And this was the 4th day. So if Jesus raises him on the 4th day, then they'll know, oh, he really was dead. Because the spirit leaves after 3 days. Because the body isn't coming back.
So it was kind of all part of the plan for this sign then.
I think
For the
so,
sign, yeah.
yes. Yeah, and it points ahead to Jesus' own resurrection.
Yeah. But I could
Yeah,
definitely see.
certainly
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, but I mean, that's definitely, though, I could definitely see where, Mary and Martha still, even after that explanation, be like, yeah, okay, but why did you still wait 2 days, right? Like, we're sitting here suffering,
Yes.
Lord.
It's not really good enough. Yeah.
Yes.
But,
They needed a better explanation than that.
Yeah.
He's your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
wouldn't
how
work
many
at
of
home
us
with
would
Mom.
go if
Right.
a friend was
Yeah.
that ill?
and you do, I think, it does seem like Jesus is sort of moved when he does sort of realize that. I forget what
What his
verse that
friends have
is.
gone through, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
35.
35.
When Mary comes, yeah.
Yeah, and Jesus begins to weep, right? Like, maybe, Jesus had a plan, but yeah, again, Jesus is still human, and so I think, as much as he's fully God, he's fully human too, and, there is perhaps that realization of, okay, yeah, maybe the larger point is still a sound one, waiting extra time to really
Right.
to really hammer home the power of God, but yeah, just that human connection of love for Mary and Martha and his friend and the suffering that they've been going through, I think that's always empathy, exactly, yeah.
Man, him. Like,
Yeah.
if he's forced to wait out of this plan that he has,
Yeah.
like, he's still hurting. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, that couldn't have been easy.
yeah.
I've always wondered about Martha and, her kind of confession of faith there has always been sort of unsatisfying to me. I mean, it just seems like, she's saying what you're supposed to say at a funeral or something
Yeah.
like that. And then Jesus doesn't seem to really believe what I mean, he seems to be looking for more or wanting to give her more than what she's
Yeah.
talking about there. Almost a present tense resurrection, kind of the present tense life,
Right.
rather than just some resurrection off there someday. And I don't know if that's good or not, but
Well, I think that's a topic we often talk about as pastors is just how difficult. In some respects, it can be easy to console a person, just by simply sitting. Kind of the example from the book of Job, right? You
Right.
sit, you keep your mouth shut, you bring a casserole. I don't think they did that in the book of Job, but that last part. But
Pretty close.
right, pretty close. But it's oftentimes it can be really difficult not to just to try to out of wanting to help someone, not saying exactly the right thing or saying something that when people are whether it's at a funeral or just an illness, and you can think of that even now too of like. You have to be so careful not to just be like, oh, this is part of God's plan, or
yeah.
Exactly.
the angels wanted another, or
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you got to be.
So many
So in other
people
words,
should
don't
just
say
leave
what
their
Jesus
mouths
said.
shut.
Yeah, well, but it's
Well,
tricky.
if it's Jesus' plan,
Yeah.
he actually has that plan.
Yeah,
I do not pretend to know God's
Yeah.
plan.
And then with Mary, there's none. Just
Mm-hmm.
you can only just cry with her.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's always the good reminder. If you can't say anything, just simple presence, is always just such an important thing. Which, of course, is the challenge nowadays when it can be difficult to have physical presence with one another. But
It is.
so,
Yes.
but I mean, again, you can have a phone and you can just let someone talk. Get the
There are ways.
FaceTime going, and I've even heard people suggesting like, hey, even if you're just like, watching, you could watch a movie together, right, and just have like the open FaceTime going or something, and
Netflix's new party
Party
watch.
Watch.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
sure.
You can
I've seen that.
I'll have to check
chat
it out.
and make
Yeah.
comments.
Yeah, we have even talked halfway seriously. At least Jordan and I have about doing like a gaming with the pastors at some point. So
Watch for that.
I'm
just
gonna
watch
set
for that
date.
coming soon.
First Lutheran of Twitch.
Yes, we would
It
love.
exists.
We would love to see Mike and Rebecca like going head to head in some sort of sword fighting game, or
That
Or-
actually might be kind of fun.
or Jackbox games or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Cameras.
We might be running out of ideas. That's the thing. The longer this goes on, so we might need to. We'll get through the whole Bible, and then we'll have to go to video games and movies. And,
Yes.
so, all right. Well, let's. Are we? You want to hit the pause button now? And
Yes.
all right.
Need a little outro music.
That was Pastor. Hope you enjoyed it.